Hello, everybody. Great to be here. And it's really weird to be here, actually, for me today. Literally a couple of days ago, I was laid on my back in hospital having a hip replacement. How wonderful is technology that, 2 days later, I can be here and I can be with you. Big hands up to modern medicine, modern technology. It's just absolutely blows me away. But anyway, great to have you here. Thank you for your time in being here. And I really hope you gain a significant advantage from being here. That's what it's all about. I appreciate everybody's busy. Everybody's got things they could or should be doing, but you're taking time out to spend just, 15, 20 minutes, something like that with me. I'm not going to take too much of your time, but the idea being to really make a difference to your business. Now, a lot of people know me. I've been doing this 28 years now, this being helping businesses to grow. Now, I focus my attention mainly on the marketing side, aka lead generation. That's really my core skill. That's what I love doing. But do you know what? It's not just all about marketing. What it's also about is conversion. There's very little value in generating a load of leads and they're not converting them. And I see that all the time. People say to me, well, I've got loads of leads, but I've not really followed them up. I had one client, right? He spends thousands of pounds going to an event to exhibit, gets something like 50 odd leads, and then 3 weeks later, he's not had time to follow them up. Give me a break. That is just crazy, crazy idea. So, that I don't want for you. I'm just looking down at my notes now, just in case you're wondering what I'm doing. So, there is no point generating leads if you're not going to maximize the conversion of those leads. So in other words, we need a really good process. Now, obviously, I don't know what your process currently is. What do you actually do? And it might be a good idea as a result of today to write it down, because if you're like 99% of the businesses I speak to, it ain't written down. You've not got actually a written process at all. And literally you make it up dependent on how busy you are. Am I right or am I right? I know I'm right because I've seen this in thousands of businesses in hundreds of industries over the last 28 years. There's very little in terms of a written process. There's very little training going on, to be honest. And, there's certainly not a system. I hope that's not the case for you. But if it is the case, then you're definitely in the right place. Because there are three ways, I believe, of maximizing your lead conversion. Number one, you can improve the quality of your leads. Let me give you an example. Whilst, I love almost all forms of marketing, but if you ask me, what are the highest converting leads that anyone could possibly get, I'd probably say they could be referral leads. Somebody's gone to, I've got a client and they've gone to somebody else and said, I've worked with Steve now 6 months. I've grown my business by 200 grand. And I think you ought to speak to Steve. When I actually get to speak to that person, can you see how much more convertible that lead is than somebody that's watched a video on YouTube, for example? So, improving the quality of leads. Now, I don't want to I don't want you to get me wrong. Getting people to watch lead videos on YouTube is brilliant. Advertising on Google is fantastic. Posting on LinkedIn is equally good, and so on and so forth. So we should be doing all these things, but I would be neglectful if I didn't mention the quality of your leads, and also the quantity of them. How many of them are you getting? Because the reason maybe that you're not getting enough sales is you're actually not getting enough leads. And just to clarify for people, the difference between sales and marketing, in my world anyway, is marketing is about lead generation and sales is about lead conversion. And I think that's the case unless you've got like an online business where, you know, somebody goes to your store a little bit like they would to Amazon and buy something on, you know, on the site there and then. If you've not got that type of business, then, you know, really what we're talking about here is lead conversion. The next one is training. And this, you know, I just honestly do not get it why so many business people do not do training in sales. I was up at an event. It's a little while ago now. It's probably about 18 months ago. It's probably that long since I spoke at a big conference. There were over 2,000 people in the room, and I was doing my bit just after lunch, as speakers call it, the graveyard shift. But I was doing my bit, and I got up on stage and I said, right, hands up, who's responsible for selling? I got virtually 2,000 hands. Virtually everybody in the room was responsible. I said, okay, hands up, who's done any sales training in the last year? And I got about 50 hands. You know, and I said, okay, hands up, who's had a really good year in terms of sales? And I almost got the same 50 hands, not quite. There were some additional ones, and some of the ones that had been training hadn't, but generally speaking, that was the case. And I said to the guys, you know, that's a really good lesson for you to learn. You know, you should be training your people every day. How you know, if you run your own business, you know, you're a coach or a consultant, you're a trainer, you're a professional service, whatever it is you do, it doesn't really matter. If you're responsible for selling, then don't you owe it to yourself and to your business to get some training? You know, people say, well, you know, I'm not a salesperson. Yes, you are. Everybody is. We're all selling all the time. And if you are specifically responsible for lead generation and lead conversion in your business, then you need to be training yourself. Now, you can do that loads of ways. You can, you know, train yourself through, you know, reading a book, listening to an audio program. You know, in my day when I started, I was listening to cassettes and so on and so forth. Or you could, if you wanted to, join my Results Mastery School, which is pretty new. It's only just come out. So I might send you a message about that in the next week or so. So look out for that. But you'd be very welcome to do that. And then the third thing, which is really what this is all about, is to develop a system. Develop a system, not just any old system, but a written system. There's an old saying, and that is that, you know, most people in sales give up too early. You know, my system, whilst it's not written down, an inquiry comes in, I send them a message saying somebody will be in touch soon. I then phone them up. If I don't manage to talk to them, I'll send them an email, and then I'll phone them again the following day, and then send them another email. And that's often my system. That's really all I'm doing. And my belief is that's not good enough. And the reason I believe that is, again, down to another old saying, and that is it takes 8 contacts to make a sale. Now, I'm going to dispute that to start with, because, you know, who says that? How do they know that? And for me, you know, having an actual conversation with somebody, particularly if it's an in-person one or a Zoom one, less so if it's a telephone call, but that is really much more powerful than an email that I could send them, you know. So, you know, we need to, I believe, develop a more in-depth, intensive system. So what do we need? We need at least 8 steps to this. My system's got 12 12 steps. A very good friend of mine, a guy called Peter Thompson, says you should keep going until they die or buy. Now, Peter might be saying that slightly tongue-in-cheek, although I'm not sure he is, to be honest. But, you know, he certainly would tell you, if he was here now, that people give up far too easily. And it is so incredibly true. So we need to keep going. You know, don't give up just because they've not returned your call. You know, it's not their job. Whose job is it? It's your job. It's your job to return their call. It's your job to keep in touch. So we need 8 steps. Let's just call it 8. 12 if you like, but 8. So what's the first step? Well, the first step, and this is really important, should be carried out immediately, whenever possible. And that step is to call them. Speed stuns. It absolutely stuns. When an inquiry comes through to me and I return that call within like a minute, people go, oh, thank you. Oh, you're clear. You're clearly very perfect. It's like just brilliant, right? But what happens normally? I've got a car, right? I'll give you a quick story. I've got a car. It's a Porsche. It's a Porsche Boxster, right? And I went to Porsche in Portsmouth, which is my nearest dealer, must be about 3 months ago now. I contacted them. They said, sorry, the service department's not available. I'll get them to call you. Do you know how long it took? 4 days. 4 days. 4 days. And I was spending like, you know, best part of £1,000. And it took them 4 days to get back to me. I couldn't believe it. This is Porsche. This is, you know, one of the top brands, one of the top cars in the world. And it takes 4 days to return my call. You know, for me, anyway, it's just not good enough. We've got to be quicker than that. So the first thing is speed. The second thing that I want to talk to you about is variety. Right, we're going to have 8 steps. I'm not going to tell you, right, well, the second thing you should do is you should send out an email, and then after that you should do this, and after that you should do that. You know, it varies a lot from one industry to another, from one business to another, from one style to another. So I'm not going to tell you that, but what I am going to tell you is you need a variety of different things. You don't want to be calling all the time, although out of those 8, I'd suggest probably at least 4 of them are phone calls or maybe Zoom meetings that are set up. But in amongst that, you could obviously email them. You could send them a text message, particularly if you've got their mobile. You could write them a letter. What about that? When was the last time you got a letter through the post? For me, it's virtually never. So doing something different could be a good thing to do. One of the things I like to do is to send them a gift. If you ever read, I'm just pulling a book over, if you've ever read that book called Influence, the Science of Persuasion by Robert Cialdini, he talks in there about the 6 keys of influence. I'll just read them to you very quickly. One is reciprocation. The other is commitment and consistency. The third one is social proof. 4th is liking. 5th is authority, and 6th is scarcity. So the one I'm just going to talk to you about is reciprocation. So I'll send them a book. What happens then? Do you think that increases the chances of them buying from me? Are they going to buy from me, the guy who sent them something of value, or given them something of value, or shall we just Google it? You know, so I try to help, you know, basically help people before they ever pay me anything. That's why I'm doing this. If you think about why am I doing this, I'm doing this to build relationships with a small group of people so that come the day that they need help, they see me as the key person of influence, the person who can help them. And that's a really important thing. So 8 steps, keep it varied, use speed. The words you say, you need to think very carefully about that. You know, these words matter. And not only that, but I'm sure you've heard this, that when we communicate, the words matter. Yeah, they actually matter 8%. How we speak is 38%, and the rest is our body language. That's why I'm behaving like I am now. I'm trying to influence you. I'm trying to motivate you, not to buy my stuff, but to take action, to do something with the results, or with your time in listening to this. So yes, words matter, and it's really important to have the best words, have the best questions. When somebody says, I'm going to think about it, what are you going to say? When somebody says, well, I've not really got the budget, what do you say to that? When somebody asks any question, when somebody says to me, tell me, what do you do, Steve? The words I use, how I say it, and my body language, my eye contact, my gestures really, really, really matter. Okay, and we've got to master those. That's what my results mastery program is all about. Mastering results, improving the effectiveness of each and every element of your business and my business. That's what I've been doing for 28 years. So that's it. That's the whole ball of wax. That's what I've got to say. Well, one thing I would tell you is that if you want to find out more about me and my results program, see the scrolling thing below. That's all about setting up a meeting. It's a one-to-one meeting. It's done over Zoom, and you can book at my website, steve-mills.com, click on one of the gold buttons and get yourself set up. And we can have a conversation about your business. Again, no hard sell, I promise. And if you want to book that meeting, then please do so. Other than that, a big thank you for being here. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've valued it. But most of all, I hope you do something as a result of spending your time with me. Don't forget, we'll be back tomorrow. Do this every single day, Monday to Friday. Okay, I took a couple of days off this week. We've been in hospital. But other than that, we'll be back very soon. Thank you very much for listening.